Hey everyone, welcome to BSSAUS. My name's Royce, and we did it. We finally won a locals. It took us a while to get there. There's our fourth locals we played. But yeah, we got there, and we got there using the Fabled Beast list. Now, this has become quite popular coming out of Palm Springs. We saw, I think it was like 16 in the top 32 or something huge like that. But yeah, look, yellow is a color I really enjoy playing early on, as Battle Spirits was even in the pre-release stages when I was doing my play testing with proxies and stuff. But yeah, early on I struggled when it kind of came into the launch event and things like that, thinking, oh, there's going to be so much like red Sigma Nova around and things like that. It really deterred me away from yellow because, yeah, in my experience, that play testing of yellow versus red, yeah, yellow was just stomped on every time. But look, it's time's kind of progressed. The Nova combo isn't as prominent as it was to begin with. And yellow, I think it's just really come into its own. Like the cards were there, but just the deck and the deck composition has taken a while to refine. But I think we're seeing it come together into a really solid deck. So look, I just thought I'd take a little moment to kind of go through the list and talk about what I've got here. So starting off with the 2-drops, we have 4 of Flying Turtle, 4 of Free Stills, 4 of Pentans. So great 2-drop package here, starting with your Flying Turtle, the Fabled Beast Synergy, also ripping Fabled Beasts off the top of your deck. So in my count, we had like 17 Fabled Beasts with this list, which made it pretty easy to hit the Fabled Beast off the top. Free Still for your draw power early on, Pentan as well for your magic reduction, and just another pretty reasonable 2-drop, which kind of gives your opponent a bit of worry to start with. They often want to kind of deal with this if they can. We have our Rivitar and our 3-drop, and a Hippocampo, as our other 3-drop. A Rivitar gives you that great reanimate ability to be able to bring those 2-drops back. So you're happy to lose those 2-drops early in trades, or even just straight up sacrifices to ramp with Blessed Cathedral or draw off Free Still. So yeah, knowing that you can get those back with a Rivitar. Hippocampo, fantastic turn 1 play, or if you're the second player on turn 1 to get those early attacks in and get a bit of life gain and resource ramp as life gain in the long game turns out to be. Gale Yale is our 4-drop. We've got run 3 of those. So I see a lot of lists running the other 3-drop Fabled Beast, which name kind of escapes me right now, which is another great Fabled Beast. But I just find Galliel such solid stats. You're often dropping it for 2. Yeah, so pay 2 for a 4K Spirit. It feels pretty good, and with synergy to boot as well. So yeah, love Galliel. Found it did a lot of work for me in different matches. Solid blocker, great attacker. What more do you want from a nice vanilla? We're running 2 of Wonderland Alice. So Alice is, yeah, it's not as, I think, commonly seen in the Fabled Beast package. As we kind of know, we've got kind of flex spots to work with in that list anyway. But I do find Alice can just be such a great card to close out those games where you've got some other problematic spirit on your opponent's side of the board. You're just really struggling to get that damage in. You can be swinging with Alice to get that BP reduction. You also threaten to ramp if they want to try and block it for a trade. And yeah, just helping get those last points of damage in for the win. We run 3 of Godbeast Behemoth. Again, Fabled Beast, enabler for your 2-drops. Does the lot. Yeah, as long as Fabled Beast remains a deck and you're running 2-drops, you're going to be having Godbeast Behemoth around, more than likely. And we also run 2 of Mech Beast Fortress Nomengard. So this deck has come, or deck list particularly, has come mostly out of Palm Springs, and that's where I've looked to for the inspiration here as well. So yeah, gave it a bit of run through, and found it did have good utility in a lot of matchups. There were a few with particularly the more aggro decks, which we'll explore later in this video. We might want to take those out, but fantastic inclusion for the main board to begin with, I think. And yeah, it's a good inclusion for now, I think. Our next package, we're running 4 of Blessed Cathedral. Man, great card. I gotta say, this feels like one of the best Nexuses. Sorry, I'll specify that. Best Nexuses in the game at the moment. Giving you that core ramp and draw advantage over your opponent is just can often turn the tide of the game for you. Phantasmal Paradise is your other 4 of Nexus package for Fabled Beasts. As we mentioned, we had running 17 Fabled Beasts in this deck, which does allow you to get a lot of draw out of these. I'm finding not often using that second level 2 ability on Phantasmal Paradise, but the level 1 is enough to warrant its inclusion, I think. We're running Angelic Pressure as well as a one-of. Now look, there's something to be said for a one-of card in a deck, I think. If you're running one of them, do you really need it in your deck? Look, I think that's a fair question to ask. For the moment, it feels good. It's helped me in a couple of tight spots, but could very easily be convinced to remove this from the deck in light of something else which might be more advantageous. We run 4 of Absolute Ice Shields. It's a good card. I don't think anyone's going to debate running 4 of that, particularly in a mid-range build. We're running 2 of Suppressions. Now this is more of a tech choice in the matchups which I see a lot in my locals, which is particularly against aggro decks, mostly Red Pterosaur. But having that extra blocking ability in a turn, essentially like another Absolute Ice Shield, as you've probably heard said, but yeah, having to be able to get those potentially 2 creatures, 2 spirits attacking in the one turn, killed with a suppression is a good feeling. So it's included here, and I'm glad I've got a list from the locals I played. We run 2 of Burning Forces. So again, Burning Force remains a solid card. I don't think anyone's arguing that point. You've got your Nexus removal, you've got your low BP Spirit removal. In that flexibility. Now 2 of feels good, I think. I'm not going for the whole playset in the main board. We do, however, run 2 extras in our sideboard, which we can bring in when necessary. And finally, our 4 of Exhaust Nexus. Now look, where I might have been convinced to remove like a 1 of Angelic Pressure, I'm not being convinced to remove any of these, I don't think. It's such a solid card, gives you so much utility with either getting favorable trades, great board wipes. It just does work. There's often you've got a pen 10 out of field, so you're probably paying this for 1 or something like that for a 3k board wipe. Yeah, such a solid card. Can't rave enough about this. Yeah, Exhaust Nexus. So look, that's the deck. It's essentially, as mentioned a bit earlier, they're a mid-range kind of strategy. We're looking to not go too far into the late game for those real those control matchups, but we often don't want to try and push a finish too soon, because our spirits often don't enable us to have enough of a board presence to get those quick wins. But yeah, it's more wanting to generate that kind of core and draw advantage from your nexuses, from freeze still and things like that, to be able to just out-tempo your opponent as the game progresses. Yeah, it's fun to play. Love it. Sideboard, we've got 2 Head Ice Maid Fullers, 2 Infernal King Curse Dragons as that spice pick, which we'll touch on a bit in our sideboard guide. We're running 2 Core Thefts, 2 Burning Forces to bump up to the playset when needed in the main board, and 2 of Dream Bombs as well. So yeah, look, that's the deck, that's the sideboard. Let's launch into what we do in our matchups, our sideboard guide. So first of all, Red Pterosaur. So this is a deck which I encountered twice in the locals I won. So yeah, it's probably not a matchup I felt confident to win going in, but coming out of it, like, okay, we can survive well against this. Now, in terms of the sideboard guide I'd recommend for this, I'd recommend 2 Elephants out. Again, Elephants, one of those cards which has good utility for the late game. But if they're a good Red Pterosaur player, they're going to be wanting you to, or stopping you from getting to that point, I should say. We've got 1 of Blessed Cathedral, 1 of Phantasmal Paradise coming out. Again, those cards more useful in our late game. But we're going to be bringing in 2 Core Thefts and 2 Cursed Dragons. So the Core Thefts, particularly in mind with these Core Thefts, is for something like Giganorex. Often they're going to want to get that out early, and so subsequently they're going to try and they'll have fewer cores on that to have that out earlier. So often you can kind of get a Core Theft on a Giganorex for like 1 or 2 cards discarded, which otherwise is probably a problematic thing when it's swinging in for like 13, 14k. Yeah. It can cause you a lot of grief. So having those Core Thefts, I found, came in pretty clutch. Two of Curse Dragon, again, often they're going wide on that board, maybe not prioritizing their, maybe not optimizing their core placement. So we're going to try and get around that with our Curse Dragons. Red Terra Nova, that's the other matchup I want to touch on. For here, again, I'll probably remove the 2 elephants. Again, they can do a bit quite aggro, have quite aggro plays. And we're going to be removing 2 suppressions because, sorry, I do say they will be reasonably aggro, but not as aggro as Pterosaur, and so for that reason, I don't think suppression's as warranted. But we'll be running 2 of Dream Bombs. So this is particularly for when they do their combo turn to bring out a Sigwim Supernova. If you bounce that back to hand, they're having a bad time. So we're that's what we plan to do there, and has paid off quite well for me in a couple of times. We're running an extra Burning Force. Now I should mention as well with the Red Pterosaur matchup previously, we're not including more Burning Forces because a lot of the time with the package at the moment they're running like Diaphosa, that other Dragonid one which is treated at level 3 with less than 2 spirits. So often they don't have those 3k targets for you to easily target. Sure, they might have Overaptons and Rain Needles out sometimes to get, but more often than not, they're bringing out quite high BP, low cost spirits. But we do find in the Red Terra Nova matchup an extra Burning Force I think is pretty helpful still, for either that Nexus removal or Spirit removal. And an extra Core Theft as well, so if there is a kind of more problematic big drop which we're trying to deal with, good to have another one of those around. The purple aggro matchup. So here again, elephants, they're coming out. They're trying to beat us. They're trying to beat us early. So we're going to try and stop that, obviously. And we have. So we're going to be removing 1 Blessed Cathedral, 1 Phantasmal Paradise. And in this matchup, as most purple matchups, we'll be bringing in 2 Fullers. And we're going to bring in 2 Burning Forces because they do have quite a lot of easy 3k targets. And Nexuses like like Netherworld Depths, or like Rotting Swamp as well, which is giving them extra card draw, and potentially giving them that extra tempo advantage over you as the game drags on. Now the more purple core control matchup. In this one, we're going to be removing 1 Blessed Cathedral, 1 Phantasmal Paradise. Look, an argument can be made that this is one of those games that is dragging on a bit longer, but this is kind of a cut where I'm making more in terms of wanting to prioritize some of the sideboard options. We're taking out 1 of the Angelic Pressures, or the 1 of Angelic Pressure, to say, and we're taking out 1 to 2 suppressions as well. And I'll kind of touch on that, what we're bringing in instead. Now, of course, we're bringing in 2 Fullers for the purple core control matchup. We're going to bring in an extra Burning Force, and we're going to bring in 1 to 2 Infernal King Curse Dragons. So often when those games are dragging on longer in the purple matchup, whether you might have something out like Godbeast Behemoth, enabling those 2 spirits to get in low. If they're a smart purple player, they'll probably try and get some of their higher BP spirits at level 1 there to have those favorable blocks to stop those attacks. So if they're keeping those higher cost ones at a low level, low BP, that's when bringing those Infernal King Curse Dragons to try and seal the deal and get the win. Now the Fabled Beast Mirror, here I'll be removing 2 suppressions. We're not too worried about a quick onslaught as we can see with our own deck. We'll move 1 of Phantasmal Paradise and 1 Pentan. And in place, we're going to bring in 2 Infernal King Curse Dragons. Again, similar kind of rationale to the purple core control matchup to get those level 1 level 1 wipes when we need them, and the 2 of Burning Forces, particularly with the Nexus removal in mind, where they'll be trying to out tempo us in return to what we're doing. So we want some more options to stop that plan. Our white control matchup is probably the last one we'll touch on here. Here we're going to remove 2 suppressions. Again, we're not too worried about a quick onslaught. And 1 of Angelic Pressure as well. And to bring in, we're going to be bringing in 2 Dream Bombs to bounce some of those more problematic big targets. And an Infernal King Curse Dragon, and 1 of, again, similar story to the Fabled Beast mirror match and the purple core control, and getting around that level 1 blockade which we might be faced against. So look, that's the deck. That's probably what I'd recommend as the main starting points in considering your sideboard with these matchups. Look, I hope there's been helpful things for you in there. I'd love to hear from you if you have found this a helpful video, and in the future if you'd like to hear and see more of these kind of videos with a bit more of a deck tech and thoughts on sideboarding and whatnot. Yeah, we're gonna keep on playing hard at our locals, try and get a few more wins on the board. And other than that, we'll be back next time with some more good content here at BSSAUS. Thanks, guys.